The word is GT. Where do I even begin? Okay, let's start with the engine. It is a 4-cylinder turbocharged um, unit producing 150 horsepower and 250 newton meters of torque, accompanied with this 7-speed DSG or dual clutch gearbox. It is, I would call it a perfect pair, especially for the Indian cities. The suspension. Now, the suspension is a big talking point about this car because some people say it's a bit too stiff for the Indian roads, and it was designed that way. Of course, the Slavia 1.5 shares a lot with this car, but the suspension is way different. It's not the same. This is more focused towards the driver's car, and it's for people who actually want and need that feel from underneath their pedals. So I would say, as a person who loves to drive, this car is a gem. It is so good, especially in the suspension terms. And just hold on a second, listen to this engine. Wow, what a gem! And it wants to rev as well. It's a very free-flowing engine. I haven't There hasn't been a single torque bandwidth where there has been no power, and although 150 horsepower seems not that great, but it's also enough, I would say, for a relatively light car. This car weighs in at 1.26 tons, which is really not that lot if you think about it in the large scheme of things. Of course, this being a driver's car, let's talk about the one of the most important things: the steering. This steering is absolutely brilliant. It is light in the slower speed corners. It is heavy. It gets weighted. It is sturdy in the high speed corners, and of course high speed stretches like expressways and highways. But obviously you need to have a light steering wheel to maneuver traffic, and especially Mumbai traffic. It is really bad, but this car handles this perfectly. But yeah, when I put it through its paces, it is absolutely phenomenal. You always know what the front end is doing. There is not a single moment where I felt like there was understeer or traction was limiting my power. Yes, in some U bends you do feel that you could have a bit more power, but then the traction manages that really well. And this also being a front wheel drive car, you do expect some sort of understeer, as there's no power going to the back. So that was a given, but it's nothing out of the ordinary, and it is the best that you can find in this segment as well. Speaking of the segment, yes, the Verna has more power. Yes, the Slavia could be a bit more comfortable at the back, but I would say this car is the perfect car for a person who loves to drive and who loves to drive the way these cars were intended to. Because in a world where EVs are coming along now, these cars are a dying breed. I think Volkswagen has done an absolutely fantastic job with this car for the Indian market, especially, and even for the international market. If this car sold in any other countries, I'm sure it will do really well. I love the infotainment display. It's a 10-inch touchscreen, along with a digital display in front of me. I could have done with a little bit more customization with the instrument cluster in front of me, but that's all right. Not that serious. The touchscreen is beautiful. Not a single place where it could either jam or never had any hiccups with it. There has been a slight hiccup that I've found that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, sometimes it just doesn't connect, which I don't know. How it could be rectified. But then if you switch off the car and switch it on again, it usually fixes the slight hiccup. That's the one thing that I've noticed. Also, one of the most underrated features about this car, I would say, are the seats. These seats are absolutely phenomenal. They are so good. They are ventilated as well. They do make quite some noise when they're ventilated, but when they're going at full speed. But these seats are really good. They are very well bolstered. You do not feel the shallow bumps and crevices in the road. They hold you well. You have a lot of support near your rib cage. It is absolutely phenomenal. These seats, which I haven't heard anyone talk about, which I don't know why, because these seats are really good. The steering wheel is absolutely amazing. It's thin, just how I like it. Like I said, it's comfortably weighted. There are a lot of controls on the steering wheel which I have seen, but some of them are not really required. They do not really have any functions assigned to them, especially in the cruise control region. But that's a small caveat. Apart from that, the gearbox. Let's talk about the gearbox. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing, as you would expect from a DCT, and it is truly a masterpiece. It is so free flowing. It wants to rev, accompanied with the engine as well. I won't say it's the most comfortable car going over bumps, but then again, you have to sacrifice something if you want that feel. If you love these red accents, I'm not sure if you can see them, but the red accents in the car, they're absolutely beautiful. I feel like some manufacturers don't do that good of a job to match the colors inside and the color outside, but Volkswagen has done that right. Sunroof, absolutely amazing. Yeah, the rear seats, it's like a cocoon because this car is pretty long. You get cocooned off from the outside world and the outside noises. When you're in the rear seats, obviously they don't have any ventilation, they don't have anything, but they're of course comfortable. You should treat them as captain's chairs, so like one passenger here, one passenger there. It becomes a bit tough when you have a third passenger in the middle, but apart from that, if you don't have that, it is absolutely phenomenal. A big talking point about this car as well was the tires. It is running at 205s and 16-inch wheels. Some people say from the outside it doesn't look like the tires are as big as they should be on a car of this size, and I agreed with them to some extent. But then again, to handle these Indian roads, especially with the suspension setup that Volkswagen has changed to give it more intent of a driver's car, these tires are just fine. I haven't found any place that I would complain that, oh, I require a bigger tire or more grip, or there's just nowhere where, even through the guard section, there was just no place where I thought that this car was letting me down. And it feels like I'm all praises for this car, which is true. But there have been just some slight hiccups, like I told you, the Android Auto Apple CarPlay thing, and also the ventilator seats make quite a lot of noise. Apart from that, yeah, there's no TPMS regulator. I mean, obviously, it tells you when you have low tire pressure, but you can't really see your tire pressure. One thing I found which could have been included. It's not. It's fine. Doesn't really matter. And I've owned this for 2 months now, just around 3,000 kilometers on it. Taken it absolutely everywhere, Pune, Mumbai, that expressway. I do feel, because of its high ground clearance, the one thing I noticed was you do feel over speeds of 100 and 120. There's a lot of air going underneath the car, which is, kind of strange. I haven't really ever noticed that with any other car. Yeah, but it's not like it's unsettles the car and makes it floaty, which is not the case. But you do feel that, which is kind of not strange, but a gimmick of this car, that I would say. Yeah, because of its high ground clearance, it's only 1 centimeter lower than the Kushak and the Taigun and that sort. So yeah, it has a high ground clearance, which is really good, and it is needed because you never know where a pothole might be. So yeah, it is comfortable to cruise along. I'm doing speeds of 70 right now. There's absolutely no problem. Wind noise is relatively low. The cabin is well isolated. The speaker system is really good. It's not branded, but it is really, really nice. And there's a lot of customization in this touchscreen display. It has an air purifier inside. It has a wireless charger. One more thing, the wireless charger is a bit of a gimmick. It's not that good. I mean, it charges pretty slowly, makes your phone very hot, and most of the times it doesn't really charge because if you go over a speed bump, it stops the wireless charging and you have to pick your phone up and put it down again, which is a bit of a faff, I thought. And it has all the feature comforts you could ask for: cruise control, eco mode, two-cylinder deactivation. One more thing I've noticed is the A pillar is a bit too slanted, and now that may just be a height issue for a person of my height. I'm 6'1", so obviously the visibility is not that clear here, this side of the car. And of course, we have fitted these rain shields on the windows as well, which don't really help with the visibility. But I would say this corner, like the front, where the A pillar meets the chassis of the car, that is the one caveat of where you can't really see properly what's going on the car. Apart from that, visibility is absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing. You can see everywhere behind you. It has big mirrors. The rear view mirror is auto dimming. Obviously, it is beautiful. Yeah, I'm just all praises for this car. That has been my driving experience. And in conclusion, what a brilliant car Volkswagen has made. Now, some people say the Slavia is the same, but I wouldn't say so actually. There have been a lot of differences between these two cars, which is nice, you like to see. And of course, with the introduction of the Verna coming in at a lower price and 10 more horsepower and I think 10 more Newton meters of torque, some people do question, does this car really actually make sense? And I would say if you love driving and if you love actually taking your car out to places that are actually enjoyable to drive, there is nothing better than this car for the Indian market right now. I've driven, I wouldn't say a lot of cars, but enough cars to bring me to this conclusion. And yeah, it's so good. Well, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and this has been Siddharth. Catch you next time.